Hey guys, it's me Brooke. I'm here to do a review of Again But Better by Riccio. Now I've already actually filmed this video, but while I was editing it, I was like, this is trash. And I don't want to post it. So I'm going to redo it. I've written down some notes that I think will be better. I'm hoping the lighting will be okay. We're in the middle of daylight savings, so we're technically an hour ahead, so there should be more daylight, but usually the sun sets around this time, so I've got a little bit of anxiety. So if the light changes or if there's any background noise, I'm sorry. This is really the only time I can film it, and I just want to get my thoughts out there of this book, so sorry about that in advance. Now, I gave this book 3 stars. To me, that is a good rating. There were just some personal things that I don't really like in books in this, which is hence why I gave it the 3 stars, but it still is a good read. Riccio put so much heart into this book, and I think that really shows. It was well written and very well received by her readers. I did have some issues with it personally, but I will get into that. I still believe I had a very good reading experience with this book. It was very fun to read. My favorite parts were like part A, which I thought were really good, and I think that it's amazing that she was able to write a book and get it published, because so many of us want to do that, and you can tell she's so passionate about it. She's put so much work into it. I've watched all of her writing vlogs. I'm a massive fan, and it's amazing that she got to do that. Again But Better is a rom-com contemporary book about Shane, who has done college all wrong. Although she has gotten straight A's and she's doing amazingly well on paper, she hasn't really had the college experience that everyone has been talking about. She hasn't experienced love, she doesn't have many friends, and she spent every single Friday night and weekend away in her dorm reading and studying. Now she wants to actually have that experience. So she says to her family that she wants to do a study abroad, and she gets enrolled in a study abroad course in London for a creative writing course. But what her parents think she's doing is a pre-med course. So I'm going to be doing a non-spoiler section first before I go into the spoiler section. So all this will be non-spoiler, and I'll let you know when the spoilers will start. My first thing that I absolutely love about this book is the fact that it is about a 20-year-old woman. I am so sick of reading about 16-year-old girls who are experiencing things that they would not experience at the age of 16. I keep reading books that are either about a 16-year-old girl who's like experiencing pretty much college life, or a nearly 30-year-old woman who's experienced too much for me to actually relate to her. I can learn from her, but I really can't relate to her. And yes, I can relate to a 16-year-old girl, but also the thing is, I want to relate to someone who's more my age. And I'm so glad that there is a book about a 20-year-old, which, yes, I agree, we still coincide with young adult, to be honest. We are kind of like that grey area of we're no longer teenagers and we are adults, but we still are learning and we have mistakes and such, and I think that's really awesome that she put that in the book. I love that this book has this message of it's never too late. It's never too late to make friends. It's never too late to have that 20-year-old lifestyle. It's never too late to go on trips and journeys, to make friends and relationships and find someone to love. It's never too late for any of that. I think it's an amazing message to put in this book, and it really shows throughout the entire story. The writing in this book is absolutely phenomenal. Riccio is so talented, and I honestly see so much of John Green in her writing. I know that she liked John Green's books. She really liked Looking for Alaska and Turtles All the Way Down. I think that may have been an inspiration for her. I'm not entirely sure, but I do see that in her writing, and I think it's beautiful. It was an easy to digest read that wasn't too simple, but wasn't overcomplicated to the sense that like high fantasy is. It was so good that I could read it without an audiobook, which being in a reading slump is very difficult for me right now. So I reckon even if you're not really a reader, this is a good book to actually either just read because you want to pass some time in quarantine or isolation, or you are a reader and you're in the middle of a reading slump that you want to get out of. I reckon it's a really good idea. The LGBT representation is there and it's amazing. Atticus is one of the friends of Shane's, and he is honestly a little cinnamon roll that we must protect. He is such a sweet character. He is the gay representation of this book. He's a lot more than just the gay best friend. He's not a cliche gay sassy best friend. He's very realistic. You don't even know he's gay until he mentions that he's gay, because not all people who are not straight are obvious. Like, most people don't realize I'm bisexual. A lot of people just assume I'm straight. And it's awesome that Christine put that in there, and she had a more realistic take on it. She didn't make his entire personality, him being gay, and she put a lot of research into it. It shows that she really does care about this representation that she put in this book, and I thought that was very touching, especially coming from someone who doesn't receive much representation in books. I thought that was amazing. He wasn't just a side character, he had actual personality. Personally, I would have liked to have seen more of him rather than hearing about him, but then again, he also was away doing theatre groups, and I reckon there must have just not been much space, but that's okay, and it's lovely that she put him in there. Speaking of Atticus, the fact that he is a theatre kid and also a nice theatre person is awesome. I grew up doing musical theatre and drama and choir, and I don't think I'm a bully, but like, I never liked the stereotype that the drama, choir, and theatre kids, they were overly dramatic and snobs. They all thought they were going to be the next Meryl Streep. That's not really true. Some of the nicest people I've met have been in theatre groups and in theatre in school. In fact, the ruder people would be people not in the theatre groups, if you get what I mean. It's a heavy stereotype. I don't know if maybe this is an American thing, like if this just happens in America, but here in Australia, it's not really true. We still have that stereotype just because my generation is heavily Americanized. But it's very nice that that was in there and that he was a really nice person. It helped show that not all theatre people are snobs, and I like that it wasn't in there because I'm getting really tired of all theatre people are snobs. I'm not a snob, or at least I hope I'm not. Now let's have a quick little brief chat about characters because I don't want to spoil these characters. Shane. Shane is the central character in the story, as you already know. She is highly intelligent and she has a promising career ahead of her as being working in medical industry. I don't know how to pronounce the firm that she originally wanted to work in. I won't try. I'm sorry. I'm going to butcher it and I'll feel really bad. But she was a very interesting character to read from the mindset of, I do know that she was very much a self-insert character of Christine, and you could really see that. I do feel a little awkward saying that I honestly didn't really vibe with her very well as much as I did with the other characters. She wasn't my least favorite character in the book. In fact, I still really like Shane. It's just some of her choices I really just don't agree with, and in my opinion, shouldn't have been promoted. For instance, pursuing a guy in a relationship. It's not really okay. And I don't really feel like she learnt from it. Not only that, but also the thing of, she would sometimes make these choices that to me, a 20-year-old would not make. I'm 21, I'm a year older than Shane, the character, and she'd make some choices that I'd honestly be like, why are you doing this? Like, first off, she's trying to trick her parents into letting her do a study abroad course that would cost so much money. Her dad is working so hard to put his daughter through college, and in a way, this is kind of a slap in the face. I can understand that she's desperate, but there's a difference between making it on your own and working really hard to get there and lying to your family and basically manipulating them into doing this thing. I do like that she felt guilty and does agree that it's the wrong thing to do, but sweetie, you really shouldn't have done that. I honestly think that was a bit unrealistic. It did make for a very interesting plot though, so I like it on that sense, but I honestly don't understand why Shane thought that this would work. This would make sense for a 16-year-old to think that something like this would work, like, oh, I'm really going to math camp, but I'm going to band camp. I don't know if we have these here, but I know they're in America. But like, that didn't really make sense for a 20-year-old thinking this would work. It wasn't just that, but also certain choices. Pilot. I don't like Pilot. He's a snob. He's a snob and he led two girls on, which is really not okay. While being with Amy, Amy is his girlfriend. You find out he has a girlfriend in the blurb, so it's not a spoiler. He not only leads Shane on, he's also in a relationship with a girl who's in America. I don't think that's okay. I don't care if that person is 20 years old. That's not okay. Speaking as someone who has literally just been 20, I'm 22 in January. No. Being 20 years old is not an excuse to do that. That's just, no. I don't know, maybe it's more lenient in America, but again, here, that doesn't stand. Like, you respect the people you're with, and if you don't like your relationship, you do something about it, and if you still can't get it to work, then you break up with them. That is what you do. And I don't like that he basically had this entire thing of like, oh, like, I really like her, but the thing is, I'm in a relationship with someone that I don't really like. But I also really like Shane. But oh no, we almost did something, so I'm going to distance myself and basically punish her. I didn't like that either because neither of them were in the right or the wrong. They were both very much in the wrong. And I just thought that was really messed up and I didn't like that. He is a music snob. He is rude about the fact that she likes Taylor Swift, which I don't care. That's what I expect from a teenager. I'm sorry, but I expect that a lot from a teenager, not someone in their 20s. What else? I did like his banter. He's a very funny character, so is Shane. They're both very funny. Their banter, they really bounced off of each other. Honestly, there was so many scenes that they had me like cackling with laughter, and my mum would be like, "You alright? Like, you're making a lot of sounds that don't make much sense, darling." My mum doesn't actually sound like that. That's just the best Aussie mum voice I can do. It didn't make much sense for them to be like having this amazing chemistry, but also him wanting another woman. Like, I don't know, that didn't make sense to me, but they were so funny together. I would have loved them as just friends, to be honest. If they had just been friends, I would have been totally okay with it. Or if he wasn't in a relationship with another girl, I would again have been totally okay with it, because chemistry wise they were there, but situation wise they really weren't, if that makes sense. So that was all of this non-spoiler section. If you haven't read the book and you don't want to be spoiled, I suggest you go. If you have read the book, or if you are just curious to see my point of view, feel free to stick around. I will quickly say though that not all of my point of view is positive. Some of it is quite negative, especially towards the romance side of this book. So if you aren't interested in that and you feel like you might be offended by me not liking that, I suggest you leave now, because I won't argue with you in the comments. So as you already know, this book is split up into two parts. Part A is set in the study abroad, and then part B is set in 2017, where the characters are 26 to 27 years old. Now, the first part is pretty interesting. I actually really liked that part. It was very promising to be a very good book, and that's honestly my favorite part. I will definitely be rereading this part. Section 2 I didn't really like. I'm sorry, it actually kind of ruined it for me, just because it's not really my point of view. Suddenly it turned into 17 again and Anna and the French Kiss at the same time, and I can only take one. Honestly, I will take 17 again over Anna and the French Kiss. I don't know if you guys have read it. I've read it. Personally, I really didn't like it. I don't like cheating. I don't like a homewrecker story. It's just not very nice. It's like, cheating of any kind is not okay, and we should not romanticize it, and should not be in rom-coms. Like, please, no. There are so many amazing, beautifully written romantic scenes in this book, and it was amazing. I really wish that it was just a different scenario, so that way I could immerse myself, like really immerse myself and be like, oh, this is amazing, like, yeah, Pilot's not my favorite character, but this is a beautiful scene. And like, especially where they were in Paris and there was at that pub and the music was playing and they were just swaying next to each other, and it was a very romantic scene and the tension was there. It was written so well and I really, really liked it. But, and here's the but, Pilot still had a girlfriend at that time. He had not broken up with Amy, and he was going to kiss Shane. That's not okay, and I really don't like that that was in the book. I really do like that it stopped it from happening, especially because I don't think Pilot felt guilty. I think he was punishing Shane where he was equally as guilty in that scenario. You are in control of your own body and your own mind. So yes, you can't control the fact that you have feelings for Shane, but the thing is, you can always, like, you know, not do that. Through the entire first part of the story, Shane is struggling with this internal dialogue of, I really like Pilot, but he's in a relationship and I really shouldn't do that. At first, I am behind it because she knows that she shouldn't be pursuing him. She knows that she should keep this in check. But at that point, the lines started to blur and she was starting to do the whole entire thing of, oh, well, he wanted to stick a pin in it. Oh, they've only been together for 3 months. Oh, it's like, well, the thing is, we almost kissed. Well, he's in a relationship. She should respect that. Rather than trying to pursue a guy in a relationship, she should be going, well, how about I assess the situation, see what I like about this, see what I don't like about it, maybe even talk to Pilot about it. If it's not working well and it's not going all right, I'll just take some time on my own and be with someone else. You know what? That would have been a much better way to go. Rather than pursuing this guy, then when it's not turning out well and he's starting to punish her, literally he was punishing her and ignoring her and acting as if it was all her fault, and she's like, But she's doing this entire thing of like, what did I do? You know what you did. Like, I'm sorry, but you know what you did. She knows exactly what she did because she was pursuing a guy in a relationship. Not that hard. In the last couple chapters of the first part, Shane's family comes to visit and they all take her out to dinner, and Shane is like, her mind is reeling. She's filled with so much anxiety because she's like, I'm gonna get caught out. There's no way in hell that I am getting out of this, which is true. And I am glad that she ended up getting caught out because it's not really a good thing to do or an okay thing to do to your parents. It did make me really, really sad how it happened and that her family cut her off. It actually made me cry because that would be a very difficult thing to experience. And Christine really showed that in her writing, and I'm glad that that was in there. The thing that I didn't really like was at the dinner, she was just sitting there on her own, didn't fill her friends in on anything that was going on, and just expected them to be able to pick it up. Not only that, but the guy that she has been emotionally cheating with was sitting there across from her, covering for her while his girlfriend was sitting next to her, unaware of what has been going on, but not totally oblivious. Like, she knows something is going on. And then to put matters even worse, when she's like just chilling in the kitchen, she's on her own and she thinks she's fine, she hears someone gasp, and it's Amy. She read a diary. I don't blame Amy in this scenario. Like, I don't really think you should read someone's diary, but the thing is, she's not getting a straight answer and she really just wants to know what's happening. So like, I don't really agree, but I see why she did it. So I can see why she's mad. And the thing is, like, yeah, Amy has every right to be mad. Poor Amy. Poor Amy. Like, she's the one who's being screwed over. Like, Shane's not being screwed over in this scenario. She's not. She knows what she's getting herself into. In part 2, we take a leap in time to when they are 25 to 26 years old. Sorry, 26 to 27 years old. And things are actually going really well for Shane. She's finished her studies. She's on her way to do some interviews. But her mind is not in the interviews. She hasn't prepped. But the thing is, she hasn't really been given enough information to prep. So that's actually really frustrating for her, and you can see the anxiety. But the thing is, her head isn't on right in this scenario. Basically, all she can think about is her current boyfriend has proposed to her in like the most unromantic way possible, going like, it will help with taxes. No, when you propose, you do it properly. But she's like, well, I had this amazing time with Pilot and I really want to explore that, which fair enough. So she goes over, tracks him down and like hangs out with him, and they're just talking and saying like, did you have feelings? And Pilot admits, he literally admits, yeah, I had feelings for you. I did want to kiss you in Paris, but the things I had a girlfriend. And then he's acting as if it was her fault. I really didn't like that because it wasn't all her fault. He was part of it because he literally strung her along. There's also this part where she goes, okay, cool, then did you want to explore it? And she didn't check that he may be in a relationship. In fact, she should have asked, like, oh, like, are you still with Amy or anything? Like, I would have done that before saying anything and then just not said it. But she didn't ask that. And he goes, oh, I'm still with Amy. I've been with her for 6 years. And she goes, well, are you engaged? And he's like, no. Are you married? Or do you see a future? And he's like, no. And he's like, then let's explore it. And then I didn't like that because she's not engaged. She doesn't see a future with this boyfriend. It doesn't make sense that she uses that argument, because if anyone else were to do that, like the roles were reversed, she'd say the exact same thing that Pilot is saying. And then while he is explaining and saying the line, I've been with Amy for 6 years, she literally thinks he keeps saying it like he's trying to prove a point. It's because he is trying to prove a point. He's been with his girlfriend for 6 years. That means something. He can't just up and leave her for a girl that he emotionally cheated on her with. Then they get in like this fight and they're in the elevator and the elevator gets stuck. And this is where I thought there may have been like an issue with the binding. I literally thought that there was a muck up, and I'm like, did I pick up at the wrong part? Because they go back in time. They wake up in their old bodies, and then I was like, what is all of this about? And I was so confused. But no, it was meant to happen. I thought it was a very interesting twist. Not really what I would do myself. It turned into 17 again, cross Anna and the French Kiss, which in my opinion should have been one or the other, preferably 17 again. And I thought that was a pretty interesting twist. It kept me reading the book. Something I didn't really like though was that I thought Shane was a little selfish in the sense of doing the whole entire thing of, oh, I need this restart. I need this. Can we please just have this? And then we'll press a button and go home. but he wants to go home to his family, to his girlfriend, to his life, to his job, to his friends, but none of that matters because she wants to do a restart. That's not really fair. By the way, there's like this little restart button in like a heart locket. I hadn't even realized I was wearing this until like while I was waiting for something, and yeah, so I'm just gonna point to that. And then not only that, like she won't even let him hold the button, and she's flipping out when he tries to hold the button, and she finds the button in her food and she's freaking out. And I thought that was just like pretty annoying, especially very hypocritical, because she does end up trying to restart and go home. But the thing is, I'm glad that she did try to restart and go home because the scenario was messed up. Let me get into that. So she convinces Pilot to explore this relationship with her, and when they're doing the whole entire exploration of the relationship, oh, that rhymed, she's like, I need you to break up with Amy because I'm not going to cheat with you. Like, they haven't been cheating this entire time. And she's just like, I just won't cross that line, which is fair. She doesn't want to cross the point of physical cheating, which is awesome. I really do like that she saw that in more of an adult way. At least I don't really like the previous things she's done, because again, these are 26-year-olds in the body of 20-year-olds. Maybe their minds have also regressed, but they have the experiences of a 26-year-old. They still have all of their memories. So Pilot says, yeah, I broke up with her, this is awesome, and they start to date. It's actually really romantic and really sweet. Personally, I just can't get into it because of all of the lead up and the fact that I found this very fishy. Pilot's reaction just going, I did it, I ended it with her. I just thought that was so fishy, and I just had this inkling of, did he though? And then no, he didn't actually break up with her. So basically what happened is that one day Shane is just chilling, and then she sees Amy, and so she's like, oh, Amy's down for a showdown. So she goes up to Amy, goes like, hey, like, who are you? Why are you here? And Amy goes, oh, like, does Pilot live here? He's my boyfriend. And she goes like, boyfriend? And so basically what happened is that Pilot tried to Pilot tried to call Amy, didn't pick up. He tried to text Amy, didn't answer. So he left a voice message of a breakup. He immediately unfriended her on Skype. He deleted any emails that he sent her. He didn't check that she had received the message. He didn't ask her if she was okay. What are you doing, mate? Like, what are you doing? That's not a breakup. You need to make sure it has been received, especially in a long distance relationship, because this entire time she's been like, I knew something was up, but I didn't know what. He just like disappeared. And even Shane is like, you have to make sure that the person you're breaking up with knows you're breaking up with them, so that way you can go into a new relationship. Otherwise, you're not actually broken up. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Yes, go Shane. And then she stands up for herself. They break up. I'm like, yes, good, girl, go. And she gets her life in order and she starts doing really well. And I was so proud of her. And that was really amazing. I really don't like that they ended up together again, because this was all fixed because he sang a few Taylor Swift songs for her. I didn't think that was good enough. I'm sorry, but not being good with confrontation is not good enough. Like, I'm not good with confrontation, but I would never do that. My boyfriend's not good with confrontation, but he would never do that. Like, that was just pretty unrealistic and a really stupid excuse for a guy who has been with this girl for 6 years, has the mind of a 26-year-old man, and still did that. Like, singing a few Taylor Swift songs does not make up for it. I do really like, however, that they ended up, well, I don't like that they ended up getting engaged. I like that Shane ended up being a published author, and the kind of like the end of the story was actually of a girl who was a lot like Shane, who had a blog, and she was wanting to be an author, and she was interviewing her, and she felt so amazing, and it felt a little bit like booktube in a way, and I really, really liked that. And I thought that was awesome because it felt almost like she was talking to us in that scene. I don't know. And I thought that was amazing. So although the book wasn't really my cup of tea, I still actually think it is a really good book, hence why I rated it 3 stars. Personally, I really didn't like the cheating aspect. I found it a little, well, actually very romanticized, probably unintentionally, but I honestly don't think being 20 is a good enough excuse for that, because I'm 21 and I don't think it's a good enough excuse. I've asked my friends, they don't think it's a good enough excuse. We're all the same age. And also the thing of, I really wish they didn't end up together in the end. I wish they just maybe like made up but went separate ways, if that makes sense. Besides that, I will be rereading this book, but I probably will only like read part A because it's the part I really like. It's nothing personal. I actually really love Christine Riccio. Well, not in that sense. I've been a fan of hers for a very long time. I'm still a subscriber, and I'm just a little bit bummed that it had these things in it, because I really don't want people thinking this is an okay thing to do, which is kind of the message that it sends. Yes, it's realistic in a way, but the thing is that being realistic doesn't make it okay. Anyhow, enjoy the rest of your day or night or evening or whatever, and I don't know, I'm bad at outros. Bye!